How are you? So today I want to talk to you about your diet, and what I really want to talk about is that why you didn't fail your diet, but your diet probably failed you. So that's going to kind of be the topic today. So let's dive right in. So when I'm talking about diet, I'm talking about kind of a temporary eating pattern where people say I want to lose weight or I want to accomplish certain things, and so I'm going to go on this kind of regimen for a while and I'm going to get there. But then the problem is when they get to wherever they're going, often they then change their behavior to back where they were, and then they wonder why, that they didn't get the sustainable results they wanted. So the first thing I want to talk about is traditional diets are just too restrictive, and that's a real challenge for us because you need to really focus on kind of the things you're doing and what you can do that's sustainable. And what I mean by that is, if you go on a restrictive diet and basically remove all the things you enjoy in life, you're not going to be successful long term, and that's going to be a real challenge for you. So what's important is as you think about eating and why you're eating, that you understand that there's certain reasons that you're eating. Now, one of those reasons is your appetite. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but really, diets just don't work. So what you're looking for is something that's a kind of a behavioral change, a lifestyle change that you're going to do for the rest of your life. So if you're unwilling to do something for the rest of your life, then I wouldn't do it. So if you pick a diet and you say, okay, I'm going to do this for 6 months and then quit, don't start, because you're not going to be successful long term. In fact, there's studies out there that show that people that go on diets, not only does the diet not work, but people that go on diets, it's a predictor of weight gain. And that's because of that kind of the yo-yo effect. So don't approach your health and wellness in a fashion that's temporary, saying, I'm going to go on this thing. Don't restrict what you're eating. Learn to eat the better things. So it's not necessarily really about a restriction. Now, obviously, people tell you it's just the law of thermodynamics that to lose weight, you have to have a calorie deficit. And yes, there is truth to that, but how extensive that calorie deficit is, it can really be dependent on what you're eating. So I want to talk about some of those things. So the first thing is your appetite. So when your appetite flares up and you want to eat, I mean, it's really driving you to eat. Our body is designed to do that. It's through thousands of years the body has struggled to gain weight and stay nourished, and so whenever the opportunity comes, the body really wants to eat. So your appetite is one thing, but there's a difference between cravings and appetite. And it's important that you kind of learn to distinguish that, because you may be full, but you're still craving something. And so a craving is more of a kind of an emotional response. There probably is some physiological addiction to whatever it is you're craving to. But the reality of it is you've got to learn to control your appetite. One of the best ways to do that is eating real food. And what I mean by that is whole foods, meaning the kind of the farmer's market to table. So things that aren't processed. So anything that's heavily processed really is probably not going to be the best thing for you. So whole fresh foods is going to help with your appetite, because it's going to satisfy you. The next thing is drink lots of water. Typically in the United States, most people are probably a little bit dehydrated chronically. So it's important to really drink a good amount of water. And this is also a natural appetite suppressant. Another thing, depending on what type of eating pattern you have, protein in the morning or protein for breakfast is good, because it's going to fill you up longer, kind of get you ready for the day. So if you're going to eat more protein, then it's probably best to do it in the morning. Now, obviously, you want to have your meals composed that's going to balance your blood sugar and insulin. And the way you do that is by a combination of your proteins, fats, and then obviously low glycemic carbs. So, again, fresh things, fresh vegetables, fruits. Now, you can eat a small amount of grains and beans, but again, really control those and think in moderation. Now, fat and proteins and fiber really help to stabilize your insulin. So you really want to avoid carbs, specifically the simple carbs or the highly processed carbs. And then related to your appetite, you want to not eat at least 3 hours before bed. You want to give your body time to digest whatever your last meal of the day is before you go to bed. Now, another thing related to dieting is willpower. Now, those of you that have been on a diet, you've probably tried multiple times and things just don't go as you want them to, and you kind of start to beat yourself up and say, you know what, I just don't have the willpower. It's really, hard on yourself, and it's really kind of a mental game. And the important thing to understand is willpower is like a muscle, and you don't realize how much you're using it. But just like a muscle, if you use it a lot, it's going to get fatigued and lose its ability to function. And that's what willpower is. And if you think about it, we're bombarded thousands of times a day with advertisement that's designed to get us to eat. And really, if you rely on willpower, you're going to quickly realize that willpower is not enough. And so also in alignment with that is, again, remember I told you our body is designed. It has mechanisms in place to make us want to eat, because that's a protection for us. That's in times of famine and starvation, the body wants to eat. So whenever there's a food available, your body is naturally programmed to want to eat, to take that on. The problem we have now is we have an abundance of food, so we're eating all the time. There's no eating breaks. So we aren't out hunting for animals or gathering fruits and berries, trying to find a meal. You just got to go to a corner gas station. And again, the food you're getting there is poor quality. So if you're saying you don't have the willpower, you're probably right, but you're not alone, because willpower is not the thing that's going to help you be successful in moving forward in your health and wellness journey. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is, it's not about willpower, it's about habits. You've got to create the right habits and remove the wrong habits. And how you do that is really kind of personal reflection and understanding what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, and kind of pause and analyzing yourself. So, creating the right habits and removing the bad habits is really what's going to create success for you. Another reason diets often fail is a focus on calories. So again, I already said, the old adage is eat less and exercise more, and you're going to lose weight. And while on a purist sense that's probably true, it's not applicable across the board. We all don't respond the same way. 1,000 calories from candy, the body's not going to process it the same as 1,000 calories from broccoli. And so, when you're eating, if you're focused on calorie reduction, if your mental state is always that you've got to give up things versus add things, you're really going to fatigue yourself and not be successful. So the important thing is focus more on the whole foods, healthy foods, things like I've already talked about, whole plants, lean meats, those types of things, to really kind of try to focus on what you can eat. Now, another thing you need to do is not necessarily focus on calories, but focus on fiber. Fiber is a great thing for you, specifically in weight loss. It has a lot of other benefits, but we as Americans don't get enough fiber. So you need to work on eating more fiber. I'm not talking about fiber supplements. They aren't necessarily bad, but they aren't necessarily good either. A lot of fiber supplements, how they're made, they really aren't able to really do anything for us. So the first thing is to try to get natural supplements. That's through your plant-based type things. So real important to get fiber. So then the next thing that I want to talk about is related to the calories, but if you focus on healthy things, the greens, the grass-fed meats, low glycemic foods, you're going to be better off, because what's going to happen is you're going to stabilize your insulin. And so we often blame sugar as the reason for our obesity, and it is a major impact. But really what's driving us is our insulin levels. And insulin is really, just look at it like this, the insulin is designed to help us put on weight. So as long as we have insulin around, our body's trying to put on weight. So, eat fresh things. Now, another thing is don't use artificial sweeteners, because yes, it's true, there's 0 calories, we don't digest them, but the bacteria in our gut can digest some of it, but it also still causes a physiologic response to those things. So you still can trigger hunger, things like that. So really the best source of fluid is just simple, good old-fashioned water. And another thing that we often hear is that, well, I'm on a low-fat diet, why am I not losing weight? And we kind of been sold a bill of goods on a low-fat diet because, 30 years ago, that's when we kind of started preaching a low-fat diet. And if you look at the weight of the Americans, or even across the world, our weight is getting worse. So the low-fat diet isn't working. And part of the problem is people still eat a ton of stuff. It's just labeled low fat. So a lot of those things are also highly processed things. So again, it's those food items that aren't good for you. And so really, again, it's not about a low-fat diet. It's about eating fresh, whole foods, quality meats, things like that. So don't be afraid of fat. But the important thing is to make sure that you actually are eating the good fats. So like the vegetable fats, like those found in avocados or nuts or seeds, coconut, olive oil, those types of things are good fats. There are also good fats in meats, but you got to make sure you're eating the clean meats. That these are, kind of the aren't highly processed meats like lunch meats, things like that. And then obviously you want to make sure you're getting your omega-3 fats from the fish, sardines, herring, cod, things like that. Very important. But again, you shouldn't fear fat. There's a reason you need fat, and you just make sure you're picking the fat that's going to benefit you, not harm you. Another struggle we have in our health and wellness is we may already have underlying health conditions, and a lot of underlying health conditions contribute to our obesity or weight gain. And really, one of the big factors here is related to inflammation. So as I said before, inflammation is kind of a common denominator in a multitude of illnesses, and weight gain is one of those things. As we put on more weight, it basically creates a pro-inflammatory environment, which only aggravates other potential illnesses, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, things like that. So your weight's really a vicious cycle, because inflammation causes us to put on weight, and then putting on weight causes inflammation. So it's important to understand to do everything you can to reduce the inflammation, and a lot of that can be impacted by your diet. So one of the most common things that people hear about is gluten, or have a gluten allergy, or lactose or dairy allergy. And if you do, understand that doesn't mean you can just eat everything you want that's gluten-free. So those gluten-free cookies and cakes, they're still cookies and cakes. So it's important to kind of learn how your body is and what it responds to and how it responds. But really, inflammation is a key factor here that you need to work on. And one of the ways you can work on that is basically your gut, or meaning your microbiome in your bowels. Now we've learned, that there's trillions of bacteria within our gut, and these bacteria are designed to help us. So it's kind of this symbiotic relationship. We provide stuff for them, they provide stuff for us. But it's important that you nurture that colony or that community and make sure the right bacteria are growing, and that's really impacted by what you're eating. So if you're eating a diet in poor quality foods, highly processed things, you're creating an environment that those bacteria will grow in, and those bacteria aren't helpful. So again, you need to focus on your gut health. There's lots of things we can do to support that, but there's some things you need to avoid. So, a lot of the over-counter medications, things like that, are not very helpful for your gut bacteria. And then obviously fiber. Fiber, again, is very important for your gut bacteria. So make sure you're eating enough fiber. So another thing related to your gut is you got to let your bowels have periodic periods of rest. So we're learning that, about every 90 minutes, your small bowel does kind of something called the waste pulse, where it's basically more aggressive rhythmic contractions to push waste product through it. But the problem is if you're eating all the time, your body never does that. And so you've got to let your body take some breaks and kind of let it cleanse itself, give it time to move waste products through the digestive system. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't have any underlying medical conditions. Well, you may actually have some, you just haven't had them diagnosed yet. So if you're feeling like there's something you're missing, you may want to talk to your doctor to really find out if there's more that they can do to investigate it. Now, specifically and related to health and wellness, these are called functional medicine doctors. Their training is in the concept of prevention versus once you have the illness, here's a pill. So I would encourage you to talk to your physician if you feel like there's something kind of hindering you on your health and wellness journey. Next thing I want to talk about is a lot of times it's not your diet, but it's your support network. You got to have a good support network. You know, you hear all the time, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. So if you're in a health and wellness journey, you got to surround yourself with people that support that. So maybe it's joining a club or a gym or something like that. So you can interact with people that are kind of on the same course as you. But the important thing is you've got to have a supporting environment, because no matter what you're doing, you're going to have down days. And it's important to have that support there to help you navigate those down days. Now, you may want to get a coach if you're really struggling, whether it's a nutritional coach or a personal trainer. You know, it's really something you have to decide, but you really need to make sure that you have a good support network. The thing about coaching is, the great thing is that they may make it easier for you, because they may have maybe they'll see things you don't see that you can improve on, but they may have also techniques that you can use or apply that's going to make you more efficient. So coaching is something you may want to consider on your health and wellness journey. So really, that's kind of summing it up. If you are on a temporary diet and your plan is to be on it till you get to a certain point and then off of it, you're probably not going to be successful long term. I'm not saying you're not going to lose weight initially, but you're probably going to gain it back, and the literature actually supports that you'll probably gain more back. So it's really about lifestyle change. So it's kind of what I would say mindfulness in your eating, being aware to why you're eating and what's impacting your eating, and then what it is you're eating. And then obviously, you know, increase your activity level. I didn't say exercise, I said activity level. You got to find things you enjoy. If you hate doing the treadmill, then going to the gym every day and getting on the treadmill is not going to be something you're going to do forever. But if you love walking out in the nature, then do a walk every day. Find the things you enjoy. And remember, you control all this. This is really about decisions. Now, the challenge you have is making sure those decisions are on a conscious level, and then you have good information to make the best decision. And that's something that you need to do, is strive to learn about yourself and learn how you're going to interact with the environment and food and other people, things like that. But again, you know, we want to be here to help you. If you need help, feel free to reach out to us. We have both nutritional and training coaches, and we're more than excited to help you on this journey. But remember, this is your health and wellness, and just remember, you've got it. Thanks.